What's up, guys? It's Rogue One release day, and we are going to take a look at the Star Wars Black Series CHIRRUT IMWE and BAZE MALBUS figures from Hasbro. All right, we'll do packaging real quick. Not much need. You know, it's a Black Series figure, but they have changed some things up a little bit. The window on the top is gone, but that's pretty much it. So we've got BAZE over here. We got our figure. We got some artwork. He's number 37. We've got a write-up on the back. We've got CHIRRUT. He's 36. And a write-up on the back as well. That's about it. Let's pull them out, take a look. All right, here they are out of the packaging. And right off the bat, I can say that I'm pretty excited about these figures because I have been hunting for them for far too long and I finally found them. So I am pleased in the fact that I've got them. I do have some gripes about them. They are not perfect figures, but I do like them. I'm really glad that we got these guys because let's be honest, they are among the better characters in Rogue One, especially as a duo, and I really like what they represent in the film. So, pleased to have them, but let's go over these figures. Let's take a look at CHIRRUT first, and obviously, you know, they're going for a Donnie Yen likeness here, and it's not bad. It's not perfect though, and it's not the sculpt, it's the paint job as usual with a Black Series figure. So he's pretty good. I kind of think that he looks like Cotton Hill from King of the Hill, just a little bit though, and it's hard for me to not see that at times, but maybe that's just me. So face sculpt is pretty good. Like I said though, the paint is lacking. There's just not a lot of shading on there, so the you know, the actual sculpted detail there is kind of hard for it to come out. It's really, everything's really soft, and that's what we see a lot lately with Black Series figures. The hair is sculpted pretty decently. There is a lot of line work in there. And then we've got his cape here on the back, which is hard plastic. And we have his just his outfit in general. The upper torso is all plastic. He's got his sculpted satchel here with sculpted gauntlets, and then his pants are sculpted, obviously, but they're just sort of flat black plastic, and he's got his sculpted boots down there. There is obviously soft goods on this character from the waist down. We've got multiple pieces, a couple pieces back here that hang off, the red and the black with the red stripe, and it looks pretty good. It hangs well on him. He kind of looks a little puffy at times, but you can pose him just right, and it hangs pretty well. I'm pleased with how they kind of melded the plastic and the soft goods. It's kind of like what they did with Darth Revan, the same kind of thing, where they, you know, wanted to have this piece flow a certain way, so it's molded plastic rather than being something that hangs poorly on the character. As far as articulation goes, he is standard Black Series. There's nothing special here. The only, you know, he's got the head that rotates, arms go all the way out, and then they can go all the way around. The elbows are an issue for me, and that's the gripe I have with CHIRRUT, is that he needs double jointed elbows because of the accessories he comes with. He comes with his, I don't even know what they call it. Is it actually a bowcaster? It's not like what Chewie has. It's different. But he needs it to get in more poses with it. I think it's foolish of them not to have given him double jointed elbows. He does have a waist twist, but I think because of where the fabric is, it's kind of hard for it to twist. Like, it's in that joint as far as I can tell. But it does exist. It's there. He doesn't have much of a crunch, but there is a little bit of a one at like the lower torso area. Legs can go out a decent bit, and then they go forward all the way, so you can get him in, you know, some sort of weird jumping pose if you wanted. Back, pretty much the same. He has a thigh cut. There is a double jointed knee, as is the case with most Black Series, I believe. We have a hinge and a swivel rocker at the ankle. So he's pretty standard. I mean, we're not missing anything here, but I do think he desperately needed a double jointed elbow. Beyond that though, I think he looks pretty cool. I do like the character. You know, I like what they did with him, and he does have a lot of detail on him. So I'd say as far as the actual cast of Rogue One goes, the Rebels, I think these two are probably the better figures in the line. They're better than the Jins that we've gotten, and anything is better than Cassian. He's a dud through and through. So let's go on to BAZE here, and I have two gripes with this character, or this figure rather, and three. So I'm gonna go over my problems real quick. They're workable. I can manage around them, but they just bug me. He needs double jointed elbows as well to hold this gun better. This strap here is not long enough. It needs maybe 2 more of these notches in it because it's not going to go forward. You're not going to be able to get him holding it out any further than this. It's already stretched about as far as it can go. And then at least something that I'm seeing right now, and I'm having a hard time work around it, he's very back heavy. I mean, he wants to fall over unless you've got him hunched over a bit. At least mine's doing that. See, I've got him kind of leaning over right now. But if I were to have him standing straight up, he just wants to fall right back over. This tank on the back is very heavy for what, heavier than you might expect anyway. So, you know, it's not killing the figure for me, but it's making it hard for me to pose him in ways that I want to pose him. Now, as far as, you know, the goods of this figure, he's sculpted really well. I like pretty much everything about this one. I think he's my favorite of the two, just in terms of the overall face sculpt, because the detail they got on the face, just I guess is probably the beard, brings him out better than CHIRRUT. So BAZE looks a lot more like Jiang Wen to me than CHIRRUT does to Dan Yen. And I think it just comes down to there being a little bit more paint on this face than on CHIRRUT. But beyond that, I mean, they make a great duo, so you can't have one without the other. You know, all of this, the sculpted detail on this tank back here is really cool. And then, you know, the notches on the, I guess you just call it the power cord, is really cool. He's got the sculpted pouches on him. He's got these, you know, armor pieces all over his body, sculpted gauntlets and things like that. So he's got a lot of detail going on. This tank is removable. It pegs into the back. He's got his communicator here. It pegs into the back. The cord here pegs into the gun and into the tank. So all of that comes off of him. And I think they did a good job with the likeness of this character. He looks really, really good. As far as articulation goes, he's pretty much the same as you always get, just like with CHIRRUT. Head swivels. He can't move because of the armor. There's no rotation there. Arms will go all the way out. I'm not going to fool with this right now. And then he does have a waist twist, but he doesn't have much of a crunch. Legs can go out just a little bit. Mine aren't going out very far at all. They're just really tight, so they can go. They're not wanting to right now. This figure is very case fresh right now. Legs have a thigh cut. He does have double jointed knees, and then we have a rocker and a hinge at the ankle. So he does have that standard articulation, but I think, you know, I'm losing some of that mobility because I can't get him to stand up correctly. You know, I don't want to have him hunched over all the time. I don't think that's obviously not a good, fun pose to have him in. Now, you know, I talked about articulation and sculpt. Paint-wise, I think BAZE kind of has more than CHIRRUT, but it's not too much more. He has a lot of a wash all over his suit, his like flight suit that he wears. He's got wash all over his gauntlets and the armor pieces. The gun has paint on it. The tank obviously has paint all over it. A lot of painted detail there. Face, we've got a decent bit of paint just for the beard and the eyebrows and the eyes. So he looks pretty good. And then, of course, the red on these other armor pieces. So I think he's got a little bit more in that paint department. Not tons, but, you know, it brings out some of the detail in him. So, you know, see, I've got to have him hunched over right now. I'm going to have to play with him a little bit more, I guess. But that's really killing it for me right now. Now, like I said, all of this stuff is removable for BAZE, so those are his accessories. I'm going to move him off and talk about CHIRRUT again. So he's got his staff here, and it's, you know, kind of like knotted, gnarly wood. And it has some metal pieces on it that they're kind of sculpted and painted. So they look really nice too. This looks good. This is probably what I'll display him with, but he does come with his crossbow, bowcaster type deal weapon that we see him use in the movie. And he can hold it in both hands. A lot of it will come apart too. So like these pieces, they'll come apart, so don't worry if they pop off. They're just kind of pegged in there. But there's a lot of different colors going on here. Light browns, dark browns, some grays, and then of course the gold accents. It's sculpted well. It looks good. He can hold it. I just think he needs those double jointed elbows because of the fact that it has to be held in both hands. And I'd like to get him in a, you know, more... He looked a lot, you know, he looked very agile when he had this, you know. So, like, I don't want to display him like that. He had it kind of up into the air, and you can't really get him to do too much more than this, and that looks funky. He doesn't, he's not going to use that sight. He's blind. So I don't need to put it up to his face. But I don't know. I think he just needed that, and I'm worried it's going to, as I kind of twist it around, it feels like it wants to snap. But I don't know. I probably won't use it because it's going to be might be awkward to display him around other characters with it, just because this thing is so big. I just like the staff better. But it's a cool accessory. I'm glad they included it. It's a welcome addition to the figure, and I'm pleased with it. Its design is nice, and it works well. I just, as always, want another joint in those elbows. So overall, I am still pleased with these figures despite their quote-unquote shortcomings. I think that, if they had had double jointed elbows, I'd have been a little more satisfied with these figures. I knew they weren't going to have them, so it's not like I was expecting them and didn't get them. I just wish that they had them. I feel like their weapons would be better utilized in figures that can bend their arms a little more tighter. Baze's issue with him not being able to stand up very straight, I think I can probably work around it. I just have to play with it more. But at first glance, as I do this review, it is a problem for me. So, I don't know other folks that have these, is yours doing the same thing? I haven't heard of anybody having that problem. So maybe it's just me for now. But it's still bugging me. And then, the lack of face paint applications, while it's not a problem specific to these figures, it's still something to note. It's kind of the one shortcoming with Hasbro human characters is that they can get the sculpt down pretty good, but if you don't have the face paint on there, then that sculpt just kind of gets lost and everything ends up looking soft. So I'm sure there are plenty of customizers out there that are going to make fantastic customs of these guys once they get a hold of them. So I am still very pleased. Don't get me wrong, I do like these figures. I think they are some of the best in the Rogue One lineup. They are the best of the Rebels figures, I think. Except for maybe K2. He's pretty awesome, especially for a droid. So I am pleased. I'm glad to have found them. They are still incredibly difficult to come by. Some Targets put them out today for the Rogue One release on a shipper that has one of each figure, so you might be able to get them. Probably not at this point. A lot of stores put it out early when they shouldn't have, and I managed to track them down this morning. So if you haven't gotten them, I would stay on the lookout. They are really fun figures. You will like them. They go together perfectly. You got to have both of them. You can't just get one. So that's going to do it for this review, everyone. As always, stay tuned for more. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.